Good evening, everybody. We have a quorum. So a quorum being present, this meeting will now come to order. I'd first like to invite the Reverend Ernest Farrer, pastor of Middleborough Methodist Church, to offer our invocation, and I'm not sure he's here. So we will dispense with that. I'll now like to ask the members of our Veterans Council to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
On a guard, then. Hut. Present. Up. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Up.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, thank you. It's now my honor to bring one of our residents, one of our youngsters up here. Nicole de Blasi is Miss Middleborough 2013. She's a 20-year-old student at Boston University studying communication and violin performance. Now, you've always seen me have a singer up here for our national anthem. Tonight we're going to hear this done on violin. So with that, Nicole, thank you.
Present. Up.
Thank you, Nicole. With that being done, I'd like to take a moment of silence in honor of the victims of the Boston Marathon bombing a week ago today in Boston. It affects us all, and if you would, just join me in a moment. Thank you. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize 3 members of our own Middleborough Police Department. Officer Stephen Avellino was activated by the Army National Guard and deployed by the City of Boston to assist in the securing of crime scene perimeter, as well as security at several locations, including train stations. Steve, would you stand? He's with us tonight. Thank you. Also, Officer Angelo A.J. LaPana and Officer Alan Cunningham are members of the Semlec Regional SWAT Team. The Semlec SWAT Team responds to emergencies in southeastern Massachusetts, including Middleborough. Like many law enforcement agencies, the team was called upon to respond to the terror attack in Boston. Officers LaPana and Cunningham were activated with the SWAT team several days following the attack, including the overnight hours of April 19th. Officers LaPana and Cunningham were in Watertown searching houses door to door, looking for the bombing suspect that had just murdered a police officer. Like many officers, they performed this duty without hesitation. I'd like to thank these officers for their dedication, professionalism, and bravery during the days following the attack while searching for an armed and extremely dangerous terrorist. And unfortunately, folks, they can't be with us tonight because they've been called out on another SWAT mission. So anyway, thanks to both of them, and Chief, if you would pass that on. Once again, for our counters tonight, we're using Middleborough High School student council members. We have 12 or 13 of them with us, so when we get to standing counts, they'll be in the aisles counting the vote for us. So once again, thank you to Mr. Brannigan and the student council themselves for being here and maybe learning something about civics and the way we do business in town. At this time, I would like to invite members of the Middleborough Historic Commission to come up for a brief recognition ceremony. Here she comes.
Yep. Good evening. Could I have the members, representatives of the South Middleborough Protective Association, almost said South Middleborough School, could you come up here? Members of the Green School Committee, and is Richard Stefani here? Could you come up, please? And representatives from the Central Congregational Church. Hi. The Middleborough Historical Commission periodically honors those who have worked to preserve Middleborough's cultural heritage for future generations. Tonight we honor a group of individuals and organizations for their work in restoring, rehabilitating, and preserving 5 historic Middleborough structures. 3 individuals and groups will be awarded with a Certificate of Merit in recognition of their work in the area of historic preservation, while a 4th organization will receive the Commission's Community Preservation Award, which recognizes the highest level of commitment to historic preservation within the community. You can run over here. Okay, Chris?
The William Burke Woodhouse on South Main Street has long been an imposing landmark. The exterior of this multi-unit residence, once a single-family home, has been restored to its original grand appearance. The Middleborough Historical Commission would like to award a Certificate of Merit to Richard Stefani for the exterior restoration of the William Bourne Woodhouse. One of 2 schoolhouses recognized this year The Green School was threatened with demolition when a fuel oil leak permeated the soil surrounding the building. The Green School Preservation Committee, a group of concerned residents headed by former Selectman Lincoln Andrews, raised enough funds to mitigate the fuel leak, save the building, and preserve the exterior of the structure. The Middleborough Historical Commission would like to award this Certificate of Merit to the Green School Preservation Committee for its preservation of the Green School.
Hello, everybody. This moment is for acknowledgement of everyone in our community who volunteer time or dollars to help better the lives for all. Frequently, the selfless acts that truly impact local lives are the least recognized. Preservation of the Green School is a simple example. Our Green School Preservation Committee was comprised of Bruce Atwood, Neil Rosenthal, Wayne Perkins, and myself, yet we are only 10% of the story. 90% of the recognition belongs to the community who anonymously donated the money and time that allowed the simple idea to become reality. Without their support, this recognition would not be happening. There is now a movement to bring the one-room schoolhouse back into a functioning building for the townspeople. Should this occur, the Green School should serve as a memorial for all people, past and present, who quietly helped to make everyday life in the wonderful community of Middleborough, Massachusetts, a better place.
The South Middleborough School was constructed in 1882 to serve a wide area of the South Middleborough community. Discontinued for school use in 1990, the South Middleborough School was acquired by the South Middleborough Protective Association, which is working towards its rehabilitation. The Middleborough Historical Commission would like to award its Certificate of Merit to the South Middleborough Protective Association for its exterior restoration and rehabilitation of the South Middleborough School.
And representing the Protective Association is Louise Carberry.
And Bill Turner.
And Bill Turner. Congratulations. Would you like to
I'd just like to thank everybody that did help work on the outside of the building. The inside still needs a great deal of work, and we'll be reorganizing shortly. There'll be information in the paper. Hopefully we'll have a Facebook page and people can check it out there. Thank you very much to the Middleborough Historical Commission.
The Central Congregational Church, built in 1848, and the Central Congregational Chapel, built in 1843, have long been distinctive landmarks in downtown Middleborough. Since 1848, the Central Congregational Church was the scene of numerous community-wide functions. On Memorial Day 2009, the church was a victim of a devastating fire that left the interior of the church gutted and the exterior severely damaged. Recognizing the church's historical place within the community, the Central Congregational Society worked to restore the building with great attention to their historical character and architectural significance. The Middleborough Historical Commission would like to present its highest award, the Community Preservation Award, to the Central Congregational Society in recognition of its preservation and adaptive reuse of the Central Congregational Church and Central Congregational Chapel.
Would you like to introduce the folks?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for this award. We are very grateful for all the folks of our town who came alongside us through this process and donated and gave time and moral support and financially to this project. But most of all, if it wasn't for the efforts of the fire department, there would have been no way to have preserved this structure. And so we are so grateful for them. And also the police department in supporting the efforts of the fire department. I don't think you could have a town with better town employees, with better emergency services than Middleborough. And so we're so grateful for all you did. Also, in this group, we have a number of folks who deserve recognition. We have Reverend Doug Forbes here with us tonight. We also have other members of the committee. We have Irene Ekstrom worked on it, John Crutchfield, his wife Pat is here. We have Bob Thompson, Bethany Laporte, Ruth Knapp, Joel Bach, and Neil Kidney of Alpha Construction is the one who kind of drove the whole project, and we're grateful for him and his work. And finally, Rob DeRozier of ASAP Engineering. And after the fire, there were a number of people, experts, looking at the church, discussing on Webster Street whether or not it was possible to rebuild it. And they were going back and forth, and then Rob said at that moment, he said, "This church can be rebuilt. I'll make sure of that." And his company and his efforts and the time that he put into it made that possible. So thank you so much to all those who have worked so hard. We are blessed to be part of this community. Thank you.
Thank you, Jane, and thanks to all of the recipients for helping to make Middleborough a little bit better. At this time, I'd like to take just a minute to recognize, I know this sounds like a recognition night instead of a town meeting, but a lot of things have occurred over the course of the last year. And I'd just like to take a minute to recognize and thank our two retiring selectmen. Please join me in a round of applause for Chairman Al Rulo and Selectman Steve Spataro as a thank you for their years of service to the town of Middleborough. Thank you both. All right, at this time, I would entertain a motion to allow as necessary the following non-resident individuals to address town meeting. Charles Costello, Town Manager; Stephen Dooney, Town Accountant; Lance Benjamino, Fire Chief; Joseph Silva, Water Superintendent; Andrew Baggus, DPW Director; and Rosalie Weiss, Superintendent of Schools. Kathy Piatelli, School Department Business Manager; Ellen Driscoll, IT Director; Jane Cudsey, Acting Director of Economic and Community Development; and Michael McKeon of Castle Booze Architects. And further, for approval for taking a voice vote first on those votes requiring a supermajority. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? The ayes have it. It's unanimous. Just a few reminders before we begin. Does everyone have a copy of the articles in the budget book? If not, there are copies out there in the lobby. In addition, we've moved into the 21st century, folks. We're going to be projecting budget pages and motions on the screen for your use. As always, please turn off all cell phones and pages. And you know something? I'm the biggest offender because I didn't. As in keeping with past practice, a motion to amend must be in writing. This is for the record, and you'll be given time to write it out if you need to. To address the meeting, please go to a microphone. There's two up the top side, and there's one right down here in front of us. And be recognized by the moderator. Please state your name and address for the record. Debate and questions are healthy, but to maintain order should be directed through the moderator. And last but not least, please maintain civility. Town meeting is not the place for personal attacks or derogatory comment. I hereby certify that the warrant for this special town meeting has been posted, served, and returned in a proper fashion by Bruce D. Gates, Chief of Police. With that, I will entertain Article 1.
Mr. Moderator. Mr. Moderator. Article 1 is to supplement or adjust department budgets for the fiscal year 2013. I move that $35,000 be transferred from the Employer Benefits Health and Life account 517400 to the Law Department Special Counsel account 530400. I further move that $7,500 be transferred from the Employee Benefits Health and Life Insurance account 517400 to the Elections and Registration Election Officers account 511108. I further move that $40,000 be transferred from the Employee Benefits Health and Life Insurance account 517400 to the Police Department Regular Pay Officers account 511126. I further move that $235,000 be transferred from the Employee Benefits Health and Life Insurance account 517400 to the DPW Snow Removal account 015293. I further move that $45,000 be transferred from the Employee Benefits Health and Life Insurance account 517400 to the Veteran Services Medical and Cash Aid account 577000. I further move that $70,000 be transferred from the Employee Benefits Health and Life Insurance account 517400 to the Unclassified Interest on Tax Abatement account 015780.
I second the motion.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. Hearing no discussion, Article 1 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 1 carries unanimously. Article 2.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pavadori.
Article 2 is to pay unpaid bills from prior years, and there are none to pay, so I move to postpone this article indefinitely.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to postpone indefinitely. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Motion carries unanimously. Article 3.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Pavadori. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Rulo.
It's okay. I'm retired, but I'm still here.
Yeah, okay.
I move that the town vote to transfer the sum of $58,306 from the Employee Benefits Health and Life Insurance account 517400 to fund sick leave buybacks in the following departments. Police Department, 519-700, $20,170. Fire Department, 519-700, $36,136. Library, 519-700, $2,000. This article funds the sick leave buybacks for 3 retiring town employees.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing no discussion. Article 3 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 3 passes. That being what there is for a special town meeting, I would entertain a motion to dissolve this special town meeting.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second to dissolve. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. The special is dissolved. Our annual is posted for 7:30.
7:30.
And according to the clock, I used up enough time at 7:30. A quorum being present, the annual town meeting will now come to order. I certify that the warrant for the annual town meeting has been posted, served, and returned in a proper fashion by Bruce D. Gates, our Chief of Police. With that, I will go to Article 1. Article 1 is to hear the report of any committee or officer. Does any committee or officer have anything to report to this town meeting? Seeing none, we will move to Article 2.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Papadori.
the fiscal year 2014 budget book presented to you tonight and up on the screen behind me has been prepared and approved by the Finance Committee. It is in agreement with the budget provided to us by the Town Manager, School Committee, and Board of Selectmen. The Finance Committee prepares this book to town meeting as a recommendation to help you finalize the spending plan for our town. A balanced budget should provide all the necessary town services within the constraints of our anticipated revenues. This book balances those needs and services requested by all department heads to operate their departments against the anticipated revenues available to the town. The budget book before you tonight shows the estimated revenues for fiscal year 2014 at $73,746,872. This represents an increase of $1,266,814, or 1.7% from last year. The revenues are used to cover all town expenses, including the town budget, town meeting articles that you will also vote tonight, and in any future special town meetings throughout the year, as well as various assessments that we have to pay for in any given year. Our budget book indicates some savings this year in the debt services budget, which is our borrowed money we use to support the town. The employee fringe benefits budget is increased by 1.9%. The largest budget increase this year is in the unclassified budget, which is close to 16%. This budget includes such things as ambulance contracts, town audits, gasoline used by the town, various assessments, and the Bristol Plymouth School District assessment, which increased almost $400,000 itself. Based on this year's anticipated revenues and the fixed expenses required by the town, the Finance Committee is recommending very slight changes to most departmental budgets as compared to fiscal year 2013. The school department budget shows an increase of 2.4% for this fiscal year. Much of this money is dictated by Chapter 70 state aid, which is specified for school expenses and is administered by the school committee. The general government budgets show a decrease by approximately 1.4%. Our recommendations to you tonight are based on the bottom line value or total of each department's budget as listed in the book. Individual line items within all budgets are completed and maintained by each department head to meet this figure. The line items can be adjusted by them throughout the year to provide the best service to you. Your vote tonight will be a bottom line figure only. We ask that you, as you consider any possible amendments to our balanced budget, to be aware that additional monies allocated and voted to one department must be eventually taken from another, either at tonight's meeting or one in the future, unless additional revenues are brought forward to supplement the expense. An important point to remember is that town meeting does not increase the town's revenues. It can only decide on where the available money is spent. We thank you all for attending this meeting and hope we can answer your questions as we go along. In our budget motion, the Finance Committee will read the main motion once, followed by each department name and number along with the dollar value shown at the bottom of each page. We will then provide a short pause before reading the following department budget. During that pause, if any town meeting member would like to discuss or consider that budget further, you can call out a hold from the floor. The moderator will take note of the hold, and following the reading of the entire budget book, we will go back to all those budgets that have a hold to discuss them in more detail and vote them individually. Town meeting can vote the remaining budgets without any holds as one vote. And with that, Mr. Moderator, I move that $1,823,187 be transferred from the sales of water to the fiscal year 2014 general fund budget. $673,906 be transferred from the sales of wastewater to the fiscal year 2014 general fund budget. $1,961,709 be transferred from the sales of gas and electric to the fiscal year 2014 general fund budget. $388,777 be transferred from the revenues of the Trash Enterprise Fund to the fiscal year 2014 general fund budget.
I second the motion.
I move that $300,000 be transferred from the Council on Aging Trust Fund to Department 541 Council on Aging budget.
I second the motion.
I move that $260,000 to be transferred from the Debt Stabilization Account to Department 710, the Debt Services budget.
I second the motion.
And with that, I will start reading into the budgets in the blue budget book that you have in front of you, and it should be on the screen behind me, starting with the Finance Committee.
Remember, as he goes through these, folks, if you want to put a hold on one of these, just yell it out, and we'll put a hold on it.
I move that the town raise and appropriate by taxation or available funds in the treasury the following sums of money for the operating budgets of various departments of the town for fiscal year 2014, beginning July 1st, 2013, as presented in the Finance Committee budget book as follows. Finance Committee, Department 111, $4,806.
Second.
Okay?
Selectmen, Department 122, $58,488.40.
Second.
Okay?
Town Manager, Department 123, $208,258.48.
Second.
Okay?
Town Accountant, Department 135, $126,278.94.
Second.
Okay?
Assessors Department, Department number 141, in the amount of $254,377.
Second.
Okay?
Treasurer Collector, Department number 145, in the total amount of $437,521.54.
Second.
Okay?
Law Department, Department 151, $143,500.
Second.
Okay?
Information Technology, Department number 155, $239,522.62.
Second.
Okay?
Town Clerk, Department 161, $157,632.80.
Second.
Okay?
Elections and Registration, Department 162, $41,297.
Second.
Okay?
Conservation Commission, Department number 171, in the amount of $107,183.
Second.
Okay?
Planning Board, Department 175, in the amount of $192,830.23.
Second.
Okay?
Zoning Board, $30,497.09.
Second, that is Department 176.
Thank you.
Okay?
Administrative Office Building, Department 193, $145,429.20.
Second.
Okay?
Police Department, Department 210, $3,627,499.12.
Second.
Okay?
Fire Department, Department 220, $2,553,867.
Second.
Okay?
Building Department, Department number 241, in the total amount of $335,756.
Second.
Okay?
Sealer of Weights and Measures, Department number 244, in the total amount of $6,090.76.
Second.
Okay?
Animal Control, Department 292, $112,189.
Second.
Okay?
DPW Administration, Department 421, $14,678.
Second.
Okay?
DPW Highway, Department 422, $903,487.
Second.
Okay?
DPW Tree Warden, Department 423, $12,411.
Second.
Health, Department 521, the total amount of $309,796.
Second.
Okay.
Council on Aging, Department number 541, the total amount of $270,191.74.
Second.
Okay.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pavadori.
I should just point out the department total is $570,191.74 with an offset of $300,000, bringing the total to $270,000.
Thank you.
Veterans Services, Department 543, $504,259.
Second.
Okay.
Library, Department 610, $559,883.
Second.
Okay.
Park Department, Department 650, $259,992.40.
Second.
Okay.
Historical Commission, Department 691, $1,601.
Second.
Okay.
Debt Service, Department number 710, the subtotal of the department is $4,898,778. Total offsets are $1,417,963 for a total department cost of $3,480,815.
Second.
Okay.
Employee Fringe Benefits, Department number 919. The subtotal of the department is $16,034,072. The total offsets for this department are $2,714,703 for a total department of $13,319,369.
Second.
Okay.
Unclassified, Department 950, a subtotal department of $3,087,142, with total unclassified offsets of $110,045 for a total department budget of $2,977,097.
Second.
Okay.
Transportation Miscellaneous, Department 899 for the school department. Total department, $750,933.40.
Second.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Transportation contracted for the school department, Department 900, $1,850,883.60.
Second.
Okay.
School Department 300 operating expenses, $27,098,890.
Second.
Okay.
Wastewater Department, Department 440, $1,720,779.
Second.
Okay.
Water Department, 450, $3,811,108.
Second.
Okay.
Trash Disposal Enterprise, $1,004,887.
Second, and that is Department 433.
Thank you.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second, and there were no holes.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pavadori.
in the interest of clarity, I should make the three enterprise motions separate, which I can then subtract the indirect costs as well. So I'll do those as three separate motions here. I move that the town appropriate from the wastewater departmental receipts the operating budget of the wastewater department 440, the total sum of $1,720,779 minus the indirect costs of $673,906 appropriated in the general fund.
Second.
For the water department budget, I move that the town raise from the water departmental receipts the operating budget of the water department 450, the total sum of $3,811,108 minus the indirect costs of $1,823,187 appropriated in the general fund.
Second.
And for the trash disposal enterprise account, I move that the town raise from the trash disposal departmental receipts the operating budget of the trash disposal department 433, the total sum of $1,004,887 minus the indirect costs of $388,777 appropriated in the general fund.
Second.
And with that, Mr. Moderator, that concludes the budget book.
Thank you. Would anybody like to be heard on any piece of the budget before I take the vote? Seeing no one, this article requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries unanimously. Thanks, folks. You've given yourselves a budget for the fiscal year 2014. Moving on, Article 3.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Frawley.
I move that the town vote to transfer from the income from the sales of gas and electricity $566,440 to the assessors for the purpose of fixing the tax rate for the fiscal year 2014.
Second. I have a motion and a second.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Frawley.
This article appropriates the amount contributed annually to the town by the G&E.
Thank you. Discussion on Article 3.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pavadori.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 3.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Article 3 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 3 passes unanimously. Article 4.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Spataro.
I move that the town vote to transfer $106,902 from the receipt reserved for the Water Pollution Abatement Trust Fund repayment account to the Fund for Retiring Selectmen. Just checking to see if you were listening.
That was a good try, though.
I was trying to help Al out. Excuse me. I move that the town vote to transfer $106,902 from the receipts reserved for the Water Pollution Abatement Trust Fund loan repayment account in order to meet the town's obligations for payments of the Water Pollution Trust loan.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Spataro.
This article appropriates the annual debt service to the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust from loan repayments made to the town.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pavadori.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Article 4 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 4 passes unanimously. Article 5.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
I recommend that the town vote pursuant to Section 53E, 1/2 of Chapter 44 of the General Laws as amended to authorize or reauthorize establishment of one or more revolving funds for the purpose of funding certain activities and operations of certain departments and programs of the town during fiscal year 2014 or act anything thereon. Program being municipal fire alarm systems. Expending authority would be the fire chief. The source would be fees. Amount not to be expended not to exceed $15,000. Hazardous material incident training and materials. Expending authority is the fire chief. Source will be fees not to exceed $50,000. recycling program. Public Works Superintendent is the expending authority through fees not to exceed $2,500. Compositing bin program, expending authority is the Public Works Superintendent. Source would be fees not to exceed $2,500. Herring fishery program, expending authority would be the Herring Fishery Commission. Source would be fees not to exceed $10,000. Recreation and sports programs, the expending authority would be Park Commission. Source would be fees not to exceed $100,000. Zoning maps, bylaws, subdivision rules and regulations, the expending authority would be the town clerk. The source would be fees not to exceed $2,500.
Do I hear a second? Second. Have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
These revolving funds have to be reauthorized annually at the town meeting.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Pavadori.
the Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 5.
Any further discussion on Article 5? Seeing none, hearing none, Article 5 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 5 passes unanimously. Article 6.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Quell.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $17,736 from taxation to the appropriate line items in fiscal year 2014 budgets as estimated by the town accountant to fund the following collective bargaining agreements. Middleborough Library Staff Association, $6,703. AFSCME Council 93, Local 1700, $11,033. I further move that the town vote to appropriate $22,475, of which $3,949 is from the Wastewater Enterprise Unreserved Retained Earnings Account, $11,838 is from the Water Enterprise Unreserved Retained Earnings Account, and $6,688 is from the Trash Disposal Enterprise Unreserved Retained Earnings Account to the appropriate line items in fiscal year 2014 budgets as established by the town accountant to fund the following collective bargaining agreements. AFSCME Council 93, Local 1700, $22,475.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Quell.
the town recently reached one-year agreements with two unions for a 2.5% cost of 2% cost of living increase for fiscal year 14.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr.
just to further explain the one-year agreements, they also include a provision for new town employees in these units to pay a 30% contribution toward their health care. Existing employees will continue to pay a 20% contribution to their health care.
Thank you for that clarification. Any further discussion? Article 6 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 6 passes unanimously. Article 7.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Rulo.
I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 by borrowing under General Laws, Chapter 44, by borrowing from the Massachusetts Water Pollution Abatement Trust pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 29C, for the purpose of funding the town's program to repair, replace, or upgrade septic waste disposal systems.
Second.
Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Rulo.
this article authorizes another round of borrowing to continue the septic system improvement loan program administered by the Board of Health.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Pavadori.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Article 7 requires a 2/3 vote because it's mixed source of funding, including borrowing. We'll try a supermajority vote first. If that doesn't work, we'll have to count it. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 7 passes unanimously. Article 8.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Frawley.
Articles 8 through 14 are being proposed by the Capital Planning Committee to fund the capital needs of the town for the coming year. There are copies of the current 5-year capital plan available at the back of the room. The Board of Selectmen is recommending favorable action on Articles 8 through 14.
Thank you, Mr. Frawley. Dr. Morris.
You have to read the motion.
Oh, you got to read the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Can we get the mic up there? Top.
Mr. Moderator?
There we go.
Mr. Moderator, we have to read the motion first for Article 8.
Yeah,
Mr. Moderator, I move that the town vote to raise and appropriate $73,195 from taxation to purchase new police cruisers, $49,000, new portable radios, $7,000, and new tasers, $17,195 for the police department.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Okay, now Dr. Morris.
Mr. Moderator, could I read a quick summary of some of these articles?
Absolutely.
You all have a copy of this. The Capital Planning Committee met with most of the town's departments heads over the last 6 months to discuss the capital needs for fiscal 2014. Our 5-year capital needs and expenditure plan is attached. We ask your support on recommendations in Articles 8 through 14. We initially received capital requests totaling $3.6 million, narrowing that down to $2.8 and recommending $2.3 million in new capital equipment and building improvements. Out of that amount, $1.45 million will be bonded, $312,000 will be from free cash, $200,000 from the tax levy, and $378,000 from grants and revolving fund receipts. In addition, there's $240,000 in capital spending from the wastewater and water enterprise funds. The total amount of money recommended for this plan will be funded within Proposition 2.5 and will not require raising taxes or fees. Due to a lack of spending on capital requirements for the last several years, these recommendations are a continuation of our attempt to catch up. Security cameras will be installed at the elementary complex and will be upgraded at the Middleborough High School. Computers and related equipment in all our schools are being updated. The fire department's forestry vehicle is 46 years old and will finally be replaced. The DPW will replace both a street sweeper, which has become difficult to repair and keep in service, and a 29-year-old 6-wheel dump truck. The Council on Aging has had a chronic parking problem, which will be addressed with the addition of 37 new parking spaces near the entrance. Roof repairs to the Town Hall Annex and a compressor failure at the Public Library have been postponed for several years and will be addressed. The Park Department will replace a 24-year-old truck, and the Wastewater Department will retire a 36-year-old 6-wheeler. The Capital Planning Committee will continue to meet on a regular basis to formulate a 5-year capital needs and expenditure plan to be used as a planning document by the town. Mr. Moderator, on Article 8 that was just read, the cruises, the total amount of the cruises is $99,000, but $50,000 has been donated given to the town from the Pierce trustee, the Pierce fund from the Pierce trustees. We thank them for that. The portable radios are the second year of a 3-year replacement program. After next, if it's voted in tonight, we'll come back next year for the final year on that. And the tasers are the second year of a 2-year program to get all offices their own taser.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Go ahead.
the Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 8.
Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Anybody else? Okay, Article 8 requires a 2/3 vote. We will try the supermajority once again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 8 passes unanimously. Article 9.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Spataro.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $235,000 to purchase a new forestry vehicle for $215,000 and portable radios, $20,000 for the fire department. And to meet this appropriation, 1, raise and appropriate $20,000 from taxation, and 2, authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $215,000 under General Laws, Chapter 44.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Morris.
The forestry truck is a 1967 converted military vehicle. Does over 100 calls a year, and just by the date I gave you, needs to be replaced. The radios are part of a 2-year program to replace the radios, all the radios in the fire department.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Stewart.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 9.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Article 9 also requires a 2/3 vote, so we'll try the supermajority once again. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 9 passes unanimously. Article 10.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $355,000 by borrowing to purchase a new sweeper, $180,000, a new dump truck, $140,000 for the Public Works Department, a new dump truck, $25,000 for the Park Department, an ADA-compliant traffic signal, $10,000, to meet this appropriation, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $355,000 under General Law, Chapter 44. I further move that the town vote to appropriate $165,000 from the wastewater enterprise unreserved retained earnings account to purchase a new 6-wheel truck for the wastewater department, $165,000. I further move that the town vote to appropriate $75,000 from the water enterprise unreserved retained earnings account to purchase new fire hydrants for the water department.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Dr. Morris.
The sweeper is a piece of equipment we wanted to do last year, but we put off because we didn't have enough money, so we would like to get that this year. The dump truck is a 1984 29-year-old dump truck. It's a 6-wheeler. It also it acts as a sander, so it does both. So that's 29 years old. The Park Department dump truck is 24 years old, 1989. That's a former G&E vehicle that was handed down to the Park Department, and it's past its prime. It's leaking through the roof, and the exhaust, the body is rotted. That is actually totals about $47,000. $22,000 of the cost is being donated from the Western Forest Fund. They raise money selling off firewood, and they have some money, and they took a vote and decided to give $22,000 to the Park Department towards the purchase of this truck. So this truck will be used at the Park Department. It will also be used plowing, and it's used at various places around town, the Herring Run. They take care of spots all around town, so they've been a great department to work with, and they can pop up anywhere helping out. They help out at the schools, so that truck needs to be replaced. The traffic signal, we had a request from a resident to put in a talking signal down at the Four Corners, North-South Main Street, Wareham, and Center Street in the center of town that allows a person to hear when to cross. What else do we have on here? The 6-wheel dump truck in the wastewater department, it's 36 years old. It's a 1977 and is rotted. And the fire hydrants, we have about 800 fire hydrants in town. They cost, I'm told, about $2,200 each. This will get about 34 of them replaced. Some of them are upwards of 100 years old, I'm told. So we have a 5-year plan to start replacing some of the older hydrants, and you can see that in the attached plan. So we're going to start doing that now and hopefully catch up at some point.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Stewart?
the Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 10.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 10 requires a 2/3 vote also. So we'll try the same procedure one more time. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 10 passes unanimously. Article 11.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Quell.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $147,183 by borrowing to engineer, permit, and construct the expansion of the Council on Aging parking lot, $69,000. To replace carpeting in the Town Hall Annex in Council on Aging, $25,335. To replace a compressor in the Public Library, $30,000. And to repair the metal roof on the Town Hall Annex, $22,848. And to meet this appropriation, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $147,183 under General Laws, Chapter 44.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Dr. Morris.
The Council on Aging has had a parking problem down there for their lunches and events, etc. This will add 37 new spaces down at the Council on Aging and is much needed. The compressor at the library has died out, and it's for the air conditioning, so that needs to be replaced. The roof on the Town Hall Annex is leaking and snow is falling over the side, so this will get us a new roof and a snow fence. $22,000. The cost of that is actually $44,000, but $22,000 is coming from money that was left over in an account for the Historic Preservation Grant Fund. So we're going to tap into that and use some of the money that's been sitting there. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Stewart.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 11.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Article 11 also requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 11 passes unanimously. Article 12.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Rulo.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $155,000 by borrowing to install security cameras, $75,000, and renovate bathrooms, $80,000 at the elementary complex, and to meet this appropriation, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $155,000 under General Laws, Chapter 44.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Dr. Morris.
The security cameras are the ones I referenced in the opening remarks. We started beefing up security at the schools last year, and we have some more to do. This is in the elementary complex. The bathrooms, as far as we can tell, are the original bathrooms in in all the schools, so we'd like to renovate those. We're going to do some here, and I believe in the high school, and there are more to come, so we'll see how these come out, and this is a total renovation. The stalls are going to be removed, all the fixtures, etc. We toured that with the school department, and they need to be replaced.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Stewart.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 12.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 12 also requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 12 passes unanimously. Article 13.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Frawley.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $115,000 by borrowing for various building improvements at Middleborough High School, and to meet this appropriation, to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $115,000 under General Laws, Chapter 44.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Dr. Morris.
Some of these articles can be seen on page 3 under Middleborough Schools. So the first item that's included in this total of $115,000 is to upgrade security cameras. This is at the high school now. The last ones were at the grammar school. This is also to upgrade the fire alarm system, which is the original system. This will upgrade it, plus help the firemen locate the fire quicker. Tells them, I guess gives them a better idea where the fire is when they arrive. It's also to upgrade some of the lighting. The current lighting, the bulbs and fixtures that are used in the high school have been discontinued, or they will not be manufactured after this year. So they're going to start to gradually replace the fixtures and the ballasts, etc., in the high school. They wanted a little more than we're recommending. We want to see how this goes first, and then we'll talk to them next year. And also, the other item on here is to replace the ceiling tiles. Again, the tiles that are in that high school are no longer manufactured.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Stewart.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 13.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Article 13 requires a 2/3 vote also. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 13 passes unanimously. Article 14.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Spataro.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $175,000 by borrowing to purchase staff and classroom computers, printers, and file service, LCD projectors and instructional technology, and computer network infrastructure for the school department, and to meet this appropriation, 1, raise and appropriate $105,000 from taxation, and 2, authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $70,000 under General Laws, Chapter 44.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator, pretty self-explanatory. This is the third year of trying to do some major catch-up on the computers and infrastructure in this town, both in the school and the town side. We'll be back in the fall to recommend spending some money on the town side of with computers. But this is just to continue to get updated servers, computers, software, hardware, etc. in the schools, keep the kids up to date with the latest, both from elementary school on up, and I think they're doing a great job. They're picking away at this, and we're going to continue to work with them until we have the schools all up and running, at the current state of the art.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Ms. Stewart.
Finance Committee recommends favorable action on Article 14.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, Article 14 also requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 14 passes unanimously. Article 15.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $2,500,000 by borrowing from all relevant and necessary expenses associated with the design and financing of the upgrade to the wastewater treatment facility for the wastewater department, and to meet this appropriation to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $2,500,000 under General Laws, Chapter 44, and to provide that the debt shall be paid from the revenues of the wastewater enterprise system.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Yes, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
The article funds the services of an engineering firm to complete the design of the upgrade of our water treatment facility, which is required by our permit with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. It also funds for the services of the town's owner's project manager in a study that will allow us to qualify for 0% construction financing through the Department of Environmental Protection. The Board of Selectmen supports funding for this project.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Costello.
Let me be a little bit more specific about the appropriation. While we haven't finished a design contract yet with the firm that's first on our list, we have narrowed that range down to just over $2 million. We also have a fee for the owner's project manager of about $450,000 to $500,000. And the study for the comprehensive wastewater management plan that we'll be doing is about $150,000. So that adds up to a little bit over $2.5 million, but we have additional appropriation left over from a prior town meeting for this purpose that will make up the difference.
Thank you for that explanation. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Article 15 requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 15 passes unanimously. Article 16.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Quell.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $600,000 by borrowing to design an expansion of the police station in its current location, and to meet this appropriation to authorize the treasurer, with the approval of the Board of Selectmen, to borrow $600,000 under General Laws, Chapter 44.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Quell.
The Police Station Building Committee is asking for funding to complete the design of an expansion to and renovation of the existing station on South Main Street. The existing station is in desperate need of improvement. The proposed design not only gives us a 21st century police station, it also preserves and utilizes one of the most historic buildings in our community. The Board of Selectmen supports funding for this project.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Pavadori.
The Finance Committee recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Lopes.
The Historical Commission recommends approval of this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right. Article 16 requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. All right, I'm going to count this one. Where are my counters? All of those in favor, please rise and be counted. Give everybody a chance to stretch besides.
That's the 21st century. Blinding.
That's it. Get you one way or the other. Yeah. Get you with the white lights or the blue lights.
Blue lights. Been a long time since I've had blue light flash.
They count us? They must have counted us.
Those are behind you.
My sunglasses next time.
Taking gravity is
I can't see anything. I can be able to read.
Section 1. Yes.
26.
Section 2. Section 3. Section 4. Section 5. And Section 6. Okay, all those in opposition, would you please rise to be counted? Okay, Section 1.
0.
Section 2.
3.
Section 3.
0.
Section 4.
0.
Section 5.
3.
And Section 6. The count is 170 in favor, 6 opposed. The motion carries. Article 17.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Rulo. I'll get you, yeah.
Yeah, you're trying hard. I move that the town vote to appropriate or reserve from the Community Preservation Fund annual revenues in the following amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, debt service, community preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal 2014, which with each item to be considered a separate appropriation. Appropriation from 2014 estimated revenues for committee administrative expenses, $13,000. Reserves from FY 2014 estimated revenues for historic resources reserves, $26,000. From FY 2014 estimated revenues for community housing reserve, $26,000. From FY 2014 estimated revenues for open space reserve, $26,000. For FY 2014 estimated reserves for budgeted reserve, $151,000.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Lopes.
This is basically the budget for the Community Preservation Fund for the coming year as required by law.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Rulo.
Articles 17 through 21 are being proposed by the Community Preservation. The Board of Selectmen is recommending favorable action on Articles 17 through 21.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Article 17, folks, requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 17 passes unanimously. Article 18.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Frawley.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $3,500 from the Historic Resources Reserve of the Community Preservation Fund to fund the planning phase of the Middleborough Historical Museum project for preservation of historic town records and artifacts contained in two buildings by conducting an assessment of the existing conditions of the buildings, determining their condition and suitability for renovations, and to prepare a scope of work and a construction cost estimate. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Lopes.
The Historical Commission recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Article 18 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 18 passes unanimously. Article 19.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Spataro.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $5,000 from the Historic Resources Reserve of the Community Preservation Fund to refurbish and preserve an 1890 Woodbury and Harris historic pipe organ located at the Unitarian Universalistic Church, and to record a preservation restriction on said organ. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator?
Ms. Lopes.
The Historical Commission recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Article 19 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay.
Nay.
All right, we're going to count this one. All those in favor, please stand and be counted. Section 1. Section 2. Section 3. Section 4. 24. Section 5. And Section 6. All right, with those in opposition, please rise and be counted.
Hey, somebody's going to do it.
Section 1. Section 2. Section 3. Section 4. Section 5. And Section 6. The vote is 127 in favor, 22 opposed. The motion carries. Article 20.
What you mean? Okay. Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $20,000 from the Community Housing Resource Reserve in the Community Preservation Fund to fund a portion of the Middleborough Housing Authority's Nemasket Apartments window project for the purpose of improving housing conditions for the 10 elderly housing units in the 2 buildings. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Lopes.
the Historical Commission recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
Peter Fuller, 70 White Banks Road. How
Thank
many
you, Mr.
windows
Fuller.
are we talking about here?
Go ahead.
How many?
Joe Ruthwitz from the Housing Authority.
Could you speak up so we can hear you?
It's all the windows in the apartments. Each apartment has 4 sliding windows, so they will be replaced with, each group of sliding windows will be replaced with 2 double-hung energy-efficient windows. The existing windows are single-paned windows installed in the 50s.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 20 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 20 carries unanimously. Article 21.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Quell.
I move that the town vote to appropriate $40,000 from the Community Housing Resources Reserve of the Community Preservation Fund to fund a portion of the Shoe Shop Place Affordable Housing Project located at 151 Pierce Street for the purpose of constructing 24 affordable housing units. Said funds to be expended under the direction of the Community Preservation Committee.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms. Lopes.
the Historical Commission recommends favorable action on this article.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator,
Ms.
Judy
Bigelow
Bigelow
Costa.
Costa, 280 Wood Street. I, as an individual, recommend this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 21 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. Article 21 passes. Article 22.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Rulo.
I'm beginning to feel unwanted. I move to postpone this article indefinitely.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to postpone indefinitely Article 22. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Articles, yeah, where am I here? 22. Article 22 passes unanimously. Article 23.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Frawley.
I move that the town vote to amend its zoning bylaw as follows. 1. Amend Section 3.3.5, non-conforming single and two-family residential structures, subsections 1, 2, and 3 by A, adding reconstruction, extension, change or before alteration to a structure in the first sentence of each subsection, and B, adding reconstruction, extension, change, or before alteration in the second line of subsection 3. 2, amend section 3.3.7, reconstruction after catastrophe or demolition by adding except as provided in section 3.3.5 above before any non-conforming structure in the first sentence.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Mr. Labonte.
Mr. Moderator, Mike Labonte, 3 Sheffield Road. On April 16, 2013, the Planning Board voted to recommend favorable action on Article 23. This article is to correct an omission. The main section 3.3.5 contains language that was accidentally omitted from the subsection. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 23 requires a 2/3 vote because it's a bylaw. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 23 passes unanimously. Article 24.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Spataro.
I move that the town vote to extend Clause 56 of General Laws C-59, subsection 5, which would allow members of the Massachusetts National Guard or military reservists who are on active duty to obtain a reduction of all or part of their real and personal property tax for any fiscal year they are serving in a foreign country.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Hearing none. Article 24 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 24 passes unanimously. Article 25.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKenna.
I move the town vote to adopt the following bylaw. When 2/3 vote of the town meeting is required by statute for passage of a motion, the moderator may declare that the motion passed by 2/3 vote under a voice vote. And in such case, a counted vote need not be taken unless a standing vote by ballot, or other counted vote is required by statute.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
The effect of this change would be to expedite the proceedings at town meeting, although 7 or more voters could still call for a count if they so desire.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Pavadori.
I just have a question. If 7 or more voters could still call for a count if they desired, how come that's not in the motion?
Because well, it doesn't need to be. It's not.
That would be in the bylaw.
The bylaw.
Mr. Moderator?
I'm going to recognize Mr. DeRosa first.
Mr. Moderator.
Go ahead.
I certainly understand the thrust of this article, but I don't see the need for it. We've had a lot of 2/3 votes tonight, and when it's been unanimous, we've moved right along. When it's not, we can take a standing vote. I think it'll just breed an opportunity if the moderator should make a controversial call on a close vote, particularly on an article that requires a supermajority. It requires a supermajority because it's very important, whether it's a zoning change or borrowing. We should have a standing vote, and we have the ability to take one very quickly. So I would recommend against adopting this article.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, Jim Knox. A 2/3 vote is harder to discern than a straightforward majority vote. and a close to two-thirds vote declared as passed could have the effect of essentially discarding votes. And I don't want my vote discarded. So I'm going to vote against this article. And while I do understand from previous discussions that 7 members all questioning the vote, but I hardly think, I haven't observed that ever happening where 7 in concert worked to question a vote. So I think that just would not work. So I agree. I simply am opposed to dropping the vote itself. An individual vote is too important to discard.
Okay, thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. McKinnon.
If there was to be a close vote, one that the voters didn't think was accurate by a voice vote, and at that point, could 7 members just speak up and say, we want to have a counted vote on this?
If 7 members rose in opposition to the vote being certified, yes, by all means.
Okay, so it would
and
be,
we go to a
right after the vote,
yes.
so it wouldn't be it wouldn't have to be done beforehand. Naturally, It would be done right after the vote.
Right.
So if it looked dicey, then 7 people, which obviously if it was that close, 7 people would jump up.
That's correct.
And just say we want to have a voice vote, or a counted vote rather. Okay.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Article 25 requires a two-thirds vote. So we'll try the supermajority first. No, I'm not going to try this. We're going to count it. All those in favor of the motion, please stand and be counted. Section 1. Section 2. How many? Section 3. Section 4. Section 5. And Section 6. All those in opposition, please rise and be counted. Section 1. Section 2. There's still counting. Section 3. Section 4. Section 5. How many? And Section 6. The vote is 33 in favor, 95 in opposition. The motion fails. Article 26.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Quell.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by purchase and/or eminent domain for use in connection with a municipal water system well site parcels of land off Cross Street, now or formerly owned by Alfred Gomes, and believed to be now and owned by Robin Craver and/or Dorothy Lucas, containing in the aggregate 11.59 acres of land, more or less, and being part of Lot 3922 on Assessor's Map 40 on such terms and conditions as the board determines.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Quell.
This article corrects an incorrect reference in a property description that was approved by town meeting last year.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, Article 26 requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 26 passes unanimously. Article 27.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Rulo.
I move that the town vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to acquire by purchase or eminent domain a parcel of land off Plymouth Street in North Middleborough containing 4.2 acres, more or less, by purchase or eminent domain for the use in connection with a municipal water system well site. Said parcel being part of Lot 5077 on Assessors Map 10, and which parcel abuts an existing municipal well site property sometimes known as Mazaris or Kalo Well Site, shown as Lot 5173 on Assessors Map 10. Such parcel believed to be owned by the Bertinelli Brothers, Inc. on such terms and conditions as the board determines, and to appropriate $108,000 from retained earnings of the Water Enterprise Fund to pay for the acquisition of this property.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator?
Mr. Rulo.
This article adds land to a well site that the Water Department has been working to develop for a number of years. The additional acreage is needed to maximize water production from this well site.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 27 requires a two-thirds vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 27 passes unanimously. Article 28.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Atkins.
I move that the town vote to assent to the appointment of Robert M. DeRozier as trustee under the will of Thomas S. Peirce for the benefit of the Public Library of the Town of Middleborough, and as a trustee under the will of Thomas S. Peirce for the benefit of the Town of Middleborough, without furnishing a surety or sureties on his official bond as trustee under wither of said trusts.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Discussion.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Atkins.
The trustees are pleased that the probate court agreed with us in appointing Robert as our newest trustee. This particular motion does not increase the town's cost in any way whatsoever. It does protect the trustees for their services and what they accomplished. I hope you'll vote to approve this article.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. McKinnon.
The Board of Selectmen supports this article strongly.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, hearing none. Article 28 requires a simple majority vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed signify by saying nay. Article 28 passes unanimously. I will now entertain a motion to dissolve our annual town meeting.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. And those opposed, motion carries. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you in the fall.
Well, that was fast.